The war zone was silent, but not in peace. It was a kind of silence that made you feel something terrible was waiting. The stars twinkled above like distant eyes, watching everything unfold. Deep in space, a fleet of alien ships hovered near the edge of a massive asteroid field. They were the leaders of the Xylar Dominion, a species feared across half the galaxy. Their warships were sharp and deadly, built for one thing: annihilation. On the bridge of the largest Xylar flagship, Commander Threx paced nervously. His clawed hands tapped rhythmically against the console. "Where are the humans?" he growled. Their transmissions vanished as soon as they left Council. They should have been here by now. The Council, a union of the galaxy's most powerful races, had warned against underestimating humanity. But even Threx, ruthless and calculating, could not imagine humans' true strength. They had no reason to fear them. Yet, suddenly, a warning light flashed red across the bridge. "Commander! Incoming transmission!" shouted a young officer. The screen flickered to life. A human voice appeared, clear and calm. "This is Captain Elena Royce of the United Earth Fleet." The message began. "We have received your alert and are en route. We request immediate clearance to enter the war zone." Threx leaned forward, his eyes narrowing. Humans, the creatures everyone had underestimated. They looked fragile. Their ships were smaller, slower, less advanced. But something about that voice, calm and firm, sent a chill in his claws. Back on Earth, Captain Elena Royce stood on the deck of the flagship Intrepid. She was tall, with short-cropped hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Her crew moved with precise efficiency, their training flawless. The humans had been away from the galaxy's main affairs for too long, but now the call had come. An entire sector was under threat, and their help was desperately needed. "Report," Elena said, her voice steady. "Enemy fleet detected in the war zone," said Lieutenant Marco, pointing to the holographic map. "They are heavily armed, sir. Sensors suggest multiple capital ships, with support squadrons ready to engage." Elena studied the map carefully. Every line, every blip, every movement mattered. "Prepare the fleet," she said. "We're going in, but stay sharp. They won't expect us." The Intrepid and its fleet moved like a shadow across the stars, silent and deadly. Unlike the alien fleets, humans relied on strategy, adaptability, and courage. Their ships were not the largest or most terrifying, but every human crew knew one thing: fear could never guide their actions. Meanwhile, the Xylar Dominion grew restless. Commander Threx turned to his tactical officer. "Deploy the patrols. I want scans of that human fleet. If they think they can just appear here without consequence, they are mistaken." Hours passed. The humans moved closer, undetected. Sensors showed nothing, only the cold, empty expanse of space. And then, almost like a shadow moving through darkness, human ships appeared. Their silhouettes were sleek, angular, and unlike anything the Xylar had seen. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Elena stood with her hands behind her back, watching enemy positions. "All units, lock formation. Wait for my signal." The Xylar noticed them suddenly. "Enemy ships." Threx hissed. "They are here." A battle seemed inevitable. But Elena did not attack immediately. She wanted them to see humans differently, not just as prey, but as predators. The humans' first move would be unexpected. "Captain," Marco asked, "why aren't we engaging?" Elena smiled faintly. "Because they will make the first mistake, and we will make them pay for it." Across the war zone, tension built. Alien ships scrambled to prepare, launching drones and activating shields. But the humans did not panic. They moved like a single organism, their fleet operating with precision no alien race had ever witnessed. Then came the first strike, not from weapons, but from strategy. Human ships split and feigned retreats, drawing enemy forces into narrow passages between asteroids. Sensors showed the Xylar fleet chasing them, unaware of the trap. "Now, fire!" Elena commanded. Lasers and plasma beams cut through the darkness. Alien ships that thought they had humans cornered were suddenly ambushed from multiple directions. Explosions rippled through the enemy formation. The Xylar Dominion's confidence shattered as ships were destroyed almost instantly. On the Xylar flagship, Threx roared in disbelief. "Impossible. They should not be capable of this. A smaller human vessel darted through the battlefield, dodging heavy fire with almost impossible agility. Lieutenant Marco piloted it himself, weaving between enemy ships and drawing fire away from the main fleet. Elena's voice came over the comms, calm and collected. Hold formation. Focus fire on the central command ship. One strike, and this battle will turn in our favor. The Xylar tried to regroup, but chaos had already taken hold. Their communications were jammed, their ranks fractured. The humans moved like shadows, striking and disappearing, leaving only destruction behind. Meanwhile, aboard the Intrepid, Elena received a transmission from the Council liaison. Captain Royce, your tactics unprecedented. The Xylar are collapsing. You may end this battle faster than anyone imagined. Elena's eyes narrowed. Do not underestimate them yet. Every enemy we destroy has a dozen more waiting. Keep your crews sharp. As human ships pushed deeper, they found the center of the enemy fleet. A massive Xylar dreadnought hovered like a predator at the edge of a black hole. Its shields were nearly impenetrable, and it bristled with weapons. But humans had learned one truth in their history. Technology alone does not win battles. Strategy and courage do. Elena studied the dreadnought. We hit them here, she said, pointing at a weak point on the ship's hull. Synchronize all units. Full strike in 3, 2, 1. The fleet unleashed a coordinated barrage. Energy beams collided with the shields, creating sparks that lit the void. The dreadnought shuddered, systems overloaded, and then it exploded. Threx screamed into the void. His flagship shook violently as human ships struck again and again. Alien fleets fled, tried to escape the relentless humans. But there was no escape. Humans cut them down one by one. When the smoke cleared, the war zone was silent again. But this time, the silence was different. It was the silence of victory. Humans had entered, struck fear, and left devastation in their wake. The galaxy would not forget this day. Elena stood on the bridge, looking at the stars. This is only the beginning, she said quietly. The galaxy will learn the cost of underestimating humanity. The crew of the Intrepid cheered, but Elena knew the fight was far from over. Somewhere, out there, new enemies would rise, and humanity would be ready. The desperate call that brought them here had changed everything. Humans were no longer observers in galactic affairs. They were predators, hunters, and protectors. And this war zone was just a first step. The stars burned cold above the war zone, but the silence was deceptive. Alien fleets that had survived the initial human strike now scattered in panic, like prey sensing the predator lurking in the dark. Every Xylar ship that had once felt invincible now felt a creeping terror, for the humans were not merely strong. They were unpredictable. Captain Elena Royce watched the flickering radar screens of the Intrepid. The destruction in the previous engagement was immense. Dozens of enemy ships had been wiped from existence in minutes. But she knew better than to celebrate. The galaxy had a way of hiding deeper threats, and the Xylar were cunning predators. Sir, called Lieutenant Marco, his eyes glued to the holographic map. There's movement near the outer rim of the asteroid field. Small craft, hundreds of them. They're swarming toward us. Elena's jaw tightened. They're testing us. Let them come. We'll show them the cost of underestimating humanity. The smaller Xylar ships emerged from the shadows of massive asteroids, their engines glowing like embers in the dark. They moved in perfect formation, attempting to encircle the humans. It was a trap, but humans thrive in the face of danger. Alert all units, Elena commanded. Prepare for counterstrike. Engage the swarm on my mark. The human fleet shifted like a single organism. Ships darted in and out of asteroid clusters, weaving through narrow canyons of rock. They were faster and smarter than their alien pursuers anticipated. Each ship moved with precise coordination, dodging laser fire while simultaneously unleashing counterattacks. From a bridge of a human destroyer, Ensign Kara whispered, "They're everywhere, Captain. How are we keeping up?" Elena gave a faint smile. "Not everywhere. Only where we allow them to be. Watch the gaps. Watch for openings. That's where we strike." The humans' first move was unconventional. Instead of attacking head-on, small strike teams broke off from the main fleet. darting into swarms with energy nets and pulse disruptors. Alien ships, confident in their numbers, were suddenly immobilized as their engines stuttered and weapons failed. The Xylar flagship, sensing disaster, roared orders. Contain them. Destroy the humans. But humans had already anticipated this. Using the asteroid field to their advantage, they created false paths and decoys. Some ships projected holographic duplicates, confusing the enemy sensors. In the chaos, human fighters weaved through enemy fire, hitting critical points before vanishing into space again. "Sir," Marco shouted, pointing to the hologram, "they've lost 2 squadrons already. The enemy fleet is breaking apart." Elena's eyes were calm, but inside her mind raced. "Don't let them regroup," she said. "Target their command units. Leave the rest to collapse on themselves." And collapse they did. Alien ships began firing at one another, mistaking shadows for humans. The fleet was unraveling faster than any human strategy manual could predict. It was not just a battle. It was a demonstration of human ingenuity and adaptability. In the midst of the chaos, a new threat appeared. From the darkness beyond the asteroid belt, a massive Xylar dreadnought emerged. It was larger than any ship the humans had faced so far, bristling with weapons and shielded by layers of energy barriers. Its engines roared, and its presence sent a ripple of unease through the human fleet. Elena studied the holographic projection of the ship. "This is their real power," she muttered. The rest was only the testing ground. They saved their strongest for last. The dreadnought's first volley shattered the asteroid rocks nearby, sending debris raining toward human ships. One destroyer was hit, spiraling into fragments. The crew managed to eject, but the loss was a sobering reminder. Humans were not invincible. "Form up," Elena commanded. "Focus fire on the forward shield emitters. If we take those down, we can hit the hull directly." The human fleet surged forward, splitting into smaller units to attack from multiple angles. The Xylar dreadnought unleashed torrents of energy, cutting through the void with deadly precision. Lasers and plasma beams collided in spectacular explosions, lighting the battlefield like a storm of fire. Amid the chaos, Lieutenant Marco piloted his fighter directly into the line of fire, drawing attention from the dreadnought. "They're not expecting this," he yelled. "I can guide the main strike." Elena's voice was calm over the comms. "Do it, Marco. We trust you." The human fleet concentrated their attack on the dreadnought's shield generators. Tiny bursts of coordinated fire began to weaken the massive defenses. Slowly, methodically, they found openings. On the bridge of the dreadnought, Commander Threx hissed, "How can these fragile creatures—" "No, hold the shields. Fire everything." It was too late. With a synchronized strike from multiple human ships, the shields collapsed in flashes of burning light. The dreadnought groaned as hull breaches appeared, and explosions erupted along its sides. The humans did not pause. They pressed their advantage. Fighter teams darted inside the damaged sections, planting charges and disrupting the ship's energy cores. The Xylar were unprepared for such precise, fearless attacks. "Captain," Marco shouted, "they're trying to escape. Their engines are powering up." "Let them," Elena replied. "We've already won the battle. Focus on cleanup. Hit what exposed, and leave the rest to panic." The dreadnought's engines roared, but the coordinated strikes had crippled it. One final explosion sent shards of the ship into space, scattering like falling stars. Alien ships that had survived fled in disarray, abandoning formation and leaving the war zone to humans. The battlefield fell silent once more. Only the debris of destroyed ships floated in the void, sparkling like deadly diamonds against the black canvas of space. Elena looked at her fleet. "This is the cost of underestimating humanity," she said softly. "We didn't just strike fear, we showed them what happens when you think humans are weak." On the Xylar command networks, panic spread. Alien officers argued, blamed, and despaired. Their morale was shattered. What had once been a confident, disciplined fleet was now a scattering of terrified survivors. Back on the Intrepid, the crew celebrated quietly. Victory was theirs, but Elena knew it was only the beginning. Somewhere, the Xylar were regrouping. Somewhere, a plan was being made to challenge them again. "Captain," Marco said, "they'll return, stronger." Smarter. I know, Elena replied, her eyes scanning the stars. And we will be ready. Humanity never backs down. The warzone had witnessed the humans' first real strike, and the shockwave of their power spread far beyond the battlefield. Alien factions across the galaxy began to whisper, to rethink, to fear. Humanity was no longer a minor player. They were a force that could not be ignored. But even as the fleet celebrated, Elena's mind was already racing ahead. There was something different about the Xyler. They were not just another enemy. Their tactics, their resilience hinted at a greater threat lurking in the shadows. And she knew with certainty that the next battle would be unlike anything humanity had faced before. The shockwave of human power had only just begun. The galaxy would remember this day, not for the destruction alone, but for the intelligence, courage, and fearlessness of the humans who had struck back and won. And somewhere in the darkness, the Xyler plotted. They would learn, adapt, and strike again. But when they did, they would find humanity ready, waiting, and more dangerous than they had ever imagined. The war zone was quiet for the first time in hours, but humans knew better than to trust silence. Captain Elena Royce stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, staring at the empty expanse of stars. Her fleet had won the initial battles, shattered the Xyler formations, and destroyed the dreadnought. Yet victory tasted hollow. Something deep in the cosmos was waiting, something far deadlier than any they had faced. Captain, Lieutenant Marco called out, his voice tense. I'm picking up unusual energy readings near the outer nebula. It's massive. Elena's eyes narrowed. Show me. The holographic map flickered, displaying a swirling cloud of ionized gas and debris. Within it, hidden among the nebula's turbulence, were shapes vast, angular, and unfamiliar. Alien ships, yes, but unlike any Xyler vessel she had ever seen. Their design was jagged, alien, and somehow organic. They'd been hiding this, Elena muttered. They held back their real weapons until now. Across the fleet, human crews tightened their grips on controls. No one spoke unnecessarily. The tension was electric. Every star, every asteroid, every flicker on the sensors could be a threat, and they were right to fear it. Suddenly, alarms blare across the Intrepid. Incoming weapons fire, shouted Marco. Energy pulses, faster than anything they had encountered, streaked through the void toward the human fleet. Elena's hand shot out, activating defensive shields. Evasive maneuvers. All units, split formation, use the asteroid field for cover. Ships darted like shadows, weaving between debris and ionized clouds. But the enemy's new weapons were adaptive, tracking their every move. Even the humans' most skilled pilots felt the sting of panic as explosions erupted near their ships, throwing them off course. On one destroyer, Ensign Kara gritted her teeth as a plasma beam tore through the hull near her station. Hull breach. We're losing pressure. Stay calm. Elena's voice crackled over the comms. Seal the breach. We move as one. But this was unlike any battle before. The Xyler were not fighting conventionally. They had adapted, evolved, and created something horrifying. Each attack forced the humans to rethink strategy in real time. Their usual tactics, speed, precision, coordination, were being countered. Elena's mind raced. The humans had survived countless wars, but this was different. All units, fall back to perimeter positions. We need to observe, understand, and strike smart. The fleet shifted, retreating while maintaining a defensive screen. Marco piloted a fighter alongside Elena's flagship, scanning the enemy. Captain, these ships aren't just machines. They react. They learn. Elena clenched her jaw. Then we'll have to learn faster. Hours passed in tense observation. Human analysts studied the enemy movements, noting patterns and irregularities. The Xyler, now revealed as a hybrid force, part machine, part organic, moved unpredictably. One moment they would swarm, the next they would vanish into nebula, only to reappear elsewhere. Then came the first real shock. From the heart of the enemy formation, a massive wave of energy burst outward, not aimed at ships, but the very space around them. It was a gravitational pulse, distorting the nebula, tearing at human sensors and navigation systems. Ships struggled to maintain formation. On the bridge of the Intrepid, Elena's face was pale. They're attacking the battlefield itself, manipulating gravity, distorting space. Marco swallowed hard. We've never seen anything like this. It's terrifying. Elena's voice was steady, though her mind raced. Terrifying doesn't win wars. Adaptation wins wars. We'll fight smarter. She ordered the fleet to split into smaller, nimble units. Each unit carried a combination of stealth drones, pulse disruptors, and magnetic shields. The humans moved like hunters, using the enemy's own gravitational pulses against them. Ships lured the Xylar hybrids into tight pockets of asteroid debris, where their larger, slower vessels became trapped. But the aliens were cunning. The hybrid ships seemed almost sentient, predicting the humans' maneuvers, blocking paths, and cutting off escape routes. One by one, human units engaged in close-quarters combat, firing plasma torpedoes, using magnetic grapples, and executing daring maneuvers to disable the hybrids. Amid this chaos, Elena spotted a pattern in the enemy behavior, a momentary vulnerability. The hybrid ships, while adaptive, require a central neural core to coordinate. Destroy the cores, and the ships became disorganized, predictable. "Marco, I found it," she said. "We hit their cores. All units converge on the neural nodes. Precision strikes only, no mistakes." The fleet adjusted. Human ships darted through the swirling battlefield, targeting the cores with exacting precision. One by one, the hybrid ships faltered. Explosions of light and energy lit the nebula as alien vessels fell, disoriented and helpless. Commander Threx, watching from a hidden command ship, hissed through his teeth. "Impossible. They're too fast. Too smart." The Xylar hybrids began to retreat, but Elena was relentless. "Do not let them escape," she ordered. "Every ship we can destroy it." Fighter squadrons weaved between collapsing ships, planting energy charges and disabling weapon systems. Human engineers remotely hacked hybrid technology, turning enemy weapons against their owners. The battlefield became a deadly dance, a storm of light, fire, and strategy. As the last hybrid flagship began to retreat, a strange anomaly appeared on sensors, a massive ship unlike any other. It was cloaked, but the energy signatures screamed of unimaginable power. Elena's heart sank. This is what they were hiding," she whispered. "This is their true leader." Marco's voice trembled. "Captain, it's huge. It's alive." Elena clenched her fists. "Then we face it. Humanity never backs down." The humans formed a new plan. Instead of frontal assault, small stealth teams would infiltrate the cloaked flagship, disable its systems, and expose it for the fleet. The mission was dangerous, almost suicidal, but necessary. Lieutenant Marco volunteered, leading a squad of elite pilots and engineers. "We've trained for moments like this," he said. "We'll get in, we'll hit the core, and we'll show them humans are not just soldiers. We are survivors." Elena watched them disappear into the shadows of the nebula, her stomach tight with tension. Every moment counted. Every decision could mean victory or annihilation. And then it happened. The cloaked flagship activated its systems, revealing a staggering array of weapons and organic defenses. A wave of psychic energy pulsed across the battlefield, affecting human minds, disorienting crews and causing confusion. "Hold steady," Elena shouted. "Focus. Don't let fear control you." Marco and his team navigated through the chaos, dodging energy waves and adaptive weaponry. With precise strikes and clever improvisation, they reached the neural core, planting charges that would destabilize the entire ship. At the same time, Elena coordinated a fleet-wide strike. Ships fired synchronized volleys, targeting the weak points the infiltrators had marked. Explosions tore through the flagship, and for the first time, the Xylar hybrid leader was vulnerable. With a deafening roar, the flagship collapsed inward, a massive explosion consuming it entirely. The shockwave rippled across the nebula, sending surviving hybrids fleeing in terror. The human fleet regrouped, battered but victorious. Silence returned, heavier this time, filled with exhaustion and awe. Humans had not just survived. They had adapted, overcome, and defeated a force that seemed unbeatable. Elena's voice rang across the fleet. "This is what it means to be human. We face the impossible and we strike back stronger. Somewhere in the remnants of the nebula, Commander Threx watched his fleet retreat, whispering curses that would never reach the humans. Humanity had proven something critical. Not only could they fight, but they could adapt, think, and triumph against odds that no other species dared face. And as the fleet looked toward the distant stars, Elena knew the turning point had arrived. The Xyla would return. They always did. But next time, the humans would be ready not just to fight, but to win. The galaxy had changed. Humanity had changed it. And nothing would ever be the same again. The war zone lay in eerie silence. Smoke from destroyed ships drifted across the void, and fragments of alien vessels glittered like deadly stars. The human fleet, though battered and scarred, remained intact. They had survived the unexpected, fought against impossible odds, and now faced a final threat. The remnants of the Xyla Dominion and their hybrid forces. Captain Elena Royce stood on the bridge of the Intrepid, her eyes scanning the battlefield. Each flicker on the sensor screens told a story of courage, sacrifice, and strategy. But her mind was focused. The war was not over. The final strike, the one that would decide the fate of the war zone, was approaching. "Captain," Lieutenant Marco said, his voice tense, "I'm detecting a massive fleet gathering near the dark sector. They're regrouping, and it's huge." Elena leaned over the holographic map, tracing the movement of enemy ships. The fleet wasn't just regrouping. They were consolidating every surviving hybrid unit, every Xyla command ship, and a new, unknown vessel larger than anything the humans had encountered. "They're counting on intimidation," Elena said quietly. "Let them. Fear is their weapon, but it's nothing against discipline and courage." The humans prepared their final formation. Ships of every size and type maneuvered into position, shields charged, weapon systems ready, and engines humming with deadly precision. Unlike the alien forces, humans did not rely solely on firepower. They relied on adaptability, teamwork, and thinking several steps ahead. Ready to strike teams, Elena ordered, "We go in, we dismantle their command, and we leave no chance for escape." The first wave of human ships darted forward, breaking the void's calm. Their lasers flared as they engaged smaller alien squadrons. Explosions lit the darkness, a deadly ballet of light and fire. Yet this was only a distraction. Hidden within the fleet were specialized strike teams led by elite pilots and engineers. Marco's unit, having survived the previous infiltration, led the charge toward a massive unknown vessel. The Xyla's new flagship. Unlike any conventional ship, it was organic, alive, and exuded a subtle pulse that seemed almost conscious. Its hull was covered in jagged plating, moving as though it breathed. "This is it," Marco whispered over the comms. "The heart of their power. We take this down, we end the war zone." Elena's voice was calm but firm. "Remember your training. Move fast, strike hard, and trust your instincts. Humanity depends on you." As Marco's team approached, the flagship activated defenses. Massive energy barriers rippled across the hull, while swarms of hybrid fighters darted from concealed hangars. The humans' first volley of plasma torpedoes barely scratched the surface. "They're stronger than we anticipated," Marco said, "but not invincible." Using stealth maneuvers in the asteroid debris, the human pilots weaved in and out of enemy fire. Small boarding craft launched from the fleet, moving like shadows toward weak points in the ship's hull. Elena watched from the bridge, coordinating attacks and feeding information to every unit. The flagship's core, a pulsating orb of energy and life, was heavily shielded. It radiated psychic energy that disrupted human communications and sensors. Crew members shook with disorientation, but humans adapted. Engineers deployed signal stabilizers and pulse dampeners, neutralizing the flagship's interference. "Target the core," Elena shouted. "Focus all strikes on the neural nexus. We end this now." Marco and his team navigated through corridors of moving plating and organic defenses. Each step brought them closer to the core, but danger lurked at every turn. Alien guardians, part machine, part organism, lunged from the walls. Humans fought with precision, dodging and disabling threats with both technology and courage. Finally, the strike team reached the core chamber. It pulsed with a strange, almost living rhythm. Energy tendrils writhed around the orb, feeding into the ship's systems. One wrong move, and the flagship could detonate or unleash psychic attacks that could cripple the entire human fleet. Charge placement in 3, 2, 1, Marco commanded. The charges detonated in perfect synchronization. The core erupted in a blinding explosion, sending shock waves across the vessel. The organic plating convulsed, shields collapsed, and the flagship's massive hull cracked and broke apart. Simultaneously, the human fleet outside unleashed a coordinated strike. Every capital ship fired volleys of plasma, missiles, and pulse beams. Alien ships, disoriented without central command, were destroyed in rapid succession. Fighters swarmed through debris, picking off any survivors. Commander Threx watched from a distance, his claws trembling. Impossible, how? His fleet, leaderless and panicked, scattered. The war zone that had seemed endless now belonged to humanity. Elena stood on the bridge, her gaze steady. This is what it means to fight as humans. We don't just win by strength. We win by intelligence, courage, and unity. The fleet regrouped, surveying the battlefield. Smoke and debris floated across the void, marking the end of the Xylar presence. For the first time in centuries, this sector of space was free from alien domination. But victory was not without cost. Several human ships were damaged, and brave pilots had sacrificed themselves to achieve the final strike. Elena addressed the fleet, her voice carrying both pride and solemnity. Today, we face the impossible. Today, humanity proved that no force, no matter how powerful, can withstand courage and intelligence. We honor those who fought and those who fell. And we move forward, not just as a fleet, but as a symbol of what humans are capable of. The surviving crew cheered, but Elena's eyes remained on the stars. Somewhere beyond the war zone, new challenges waited. Yet humanity had proven a simple truth. Underestimating humans came at a cost. Across the galaxy, news spread quickly. Alien races whispered of humanity's strength. The Xylar Dominion, once feared, had been shattered. And the hybrid forces, adaptive and deadly as they were, had learned that humans were not prey. They were hunters. Elena turned to Marco. The war zone is cleared. But this victory, it is only the beginning. The galaxy has seen humanity at its best. And the next enemy will be warned. Marco nodded. We've struck fear into the heart of the Xylar. They won't forget it. Elena smiled faintly. Nor will the galaxy forget what it means to face humans. We are not just survivors. We are predators. We are protectors. And we will fight as long as it takes to defend our own. As the human fleet moved toward a distant star cluster, repairing, regrouping, and preparing for whatever lay ahead, the war zone faded behind them. The void was calm once again, but the legend of humanity's victory echoed across the stars. And somewhere in the remnants of the shattered Xylar command, survivors whispered a single truth. Humans are not to be underestimated. The war zone had been a proving ground. Humanity had survived, adapted, and won. And in doing so, they had carved their name into the stars. Captain Elena Royce stood silently on the bridge, watching the galaxy stretch endlessly ahead. She knew the fight was far from over, but humanity had faced the impossible and emerged victorious. The shockwaves of this battle would ripple through space for years. Every alien race that had doubted humans would reconsider. Every council member who had questioned their potential would now see the truth. Humanity had entered the war zone and had emerged stronger, smarter, and unstoppable. And somewhere, deep in the shadows, new threats were forming. But they would face humans as humans had faced them. Fearless, adaptive, and united. This was humanity's victory. And it was only the beginning.